Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Lately, I've been feeling like gold is a coiled spring that's just looking for an excuse to pop quite significantly up to the upside. And today we got a little bit of that release of the coiled spring, if you will, with the CPI numbers that came out. The expected headline was anticipated to be 3.1%. It came in at 3%. The core was anticipated to be 5%, and it came in at 4.8%. But the way that the US dollar is trading off of this news suggests to me that they are expecting those numbers to be revised down and maybe quite significantly, and ultimately lead to the Federal Reserve, who stopped raising interest rates in their last Federal Reserve meeting, to continue, if you will. I guess that's not, how do you continue stopping? But I don't think that they're going to raise interest rates anymore. Really breaking a lot of things. They've done dramatic interest rate hikes and not sort of let any of that work its way into the system, which usually takes a year to 2 years. So they've been aggressively doing it without any slowdowns. And as I said, at their last meeting, they stopped. And I think they will not raise interest rates any further. We're seeing a banking crisis. We're seeing the start of a banking crisis that I think is long from over, because there's a lot of banks out there that are technically insolvent. If they were to have to mark to market or trade to market their asset bases they would be down quite significantly. And this gives the potential for bank runs, and that could happen from the smallest regional banks all the way up to the big ones. And so that's one reason I think that the Federal Reserve is not going to raise interest rates any further. Housing sales have dropped dramatically down to the 2008 level, and real estate agents are leaving the business dramatically. So all of these things are quite compelling reasons. And then you've also got this currency war that's happening amongst the BRICS nations. And it's anticipated that their August 22nd, I believe, meeting, that they're going to announce an alternative BRIC currency, if you will, as an alternative to the US dollar for a reserve currency, as well as for international trade. And they are talking about it being backed with gold. For a long time, I've felt and talked about on past shows that I think that we need to return to somewhat of a gold standard. And it certainly looks like the BRIC nations believe that as well. Who knows, maybe they're going to be using an alternative currency for international trade, or at least some sort of a network of using their domestic currencies more to do those international trades instead of converting to the US dollar. Or maybe they'll be using gold more, gold for oil, gold for copper, gold for food commodities, and this sort of thing. But there is a changing world, and I think that gold is going to play a very important role in that. As I said, the US dollar was down quite significantly off of the news today, down 1.11% to 100.28 on the US dollar index. And as I always talk about, what the commodities do relative to the US dollar is the most watched pricing there is. And we got a nice pop in the price of gold, up 1.2%, or $23 an ounce to 1960.40. It is still trading below the 50-day moving average, which is at around 1972. But the 200-day is very bullish now, so I think it's oversold and ready to keep moving up. Silver up 3.95%, or 92 cents an ounce, to 24.20. Platinum is up 23.80, which is 2.55%. Copper's up 2.36% to $3.85. Palladium is up $31 to $12.79. So as I said, we're seeing some very nice movement in the price of commodities. Crude oil is up, Brent is up, heating oil is up, cocoa's up, cotton's up. Everything that's priced in the US dollar is up. Now, even though I think that gold is a coiled spring, the gold stocks and the metal stocks are even more coiled and starting from a much lower base. So the sentiment is very negative right now for the mining stocks, but we start seeing some stronger metals prices in gold, silver, platinum, copper, palladium, and other metals. And I think, we could see the stocks perform very dramatically. All right, so I'm going to do some news, companies in the news today. That was the big news. But I'm going to now talk about some companies in the news. And I'm going to start with Dynasty Gold. Dynasty Gold announced that they began their 2023 drill campaign at their Thundercloud project to follow up on the 1.5 meter intersection of 246 grams per ton gold and 73.5 meters of 8.42 grams per ton gold. This is very exciting stuff in an orogenic gold system. They're getting wide distribution of over a quarter ounce per ton, and bonanza grades in there as well, including 246 grams per ton over 1.5 meters. And here's the highlights from the fall 2022 drill campaign. It was focused on the Eastern Pelham zone, where they had drone magnetic survey outlined a zone which contained a high-grade intersection, very close proximity to a high-grade intersection that was historically done by Teck Resources, but not followed up at depth. And they did do that follow-up, and they said that drilling at the Eastern Pelham zone has been confined to within the 250 meters of the surface. So this is very shallow for an orogenic gold system. And these orogenic gold systems are known to go very deep, 2, 3, 4,000 meters. And so they're very high in the system, but they're already getting this bonanza grades. The program was the first time Dynasty drilled to test the depth potential of the orogenic gold system at Thundercloud's Eastern Pelham zone. Drill hole DP22 hit that 3 meters of 65 grams from 190 to 193 meters with a subinterval of 1.5 meters at 115 grams. From 189 to 223, they had a 34.5 meter intersection of 5.98 grams per ton gold. Drill hole 03 returned 73.5 meters of 8.42 grams per ton gold, including that 3 meters of 151 grams per ton gold with a subinterval of 1.5 meters of 246 grams per ton gold. Drill hole 04 returned 25.2 grams per ton gold. So as you can see, there's a lot of gold in those 3 holes that they drilled last fall, and now they're getting back to it. Ivy Chong, who's the president and CEO, stated, and I quote, "Dynasty's 2022 program was planned to test high-grade mineralization intercepted by Teck that was never followed up. Our geophysical work identified an anomalous area which resulted in the high-grade gold intersection in 2022. the 2023 program will follow up on our 2022 program to increase the area of higher grade mineralization and get a better understanding of the controls on the mineralization. There is potential for stacked zone of mineralization as both an upper and lower zones of high-grade gold mineralization was intercepted in the 2022 drill program. Additional geophysical targets will similarity to the Pelham zone occur elsewhere on the property, and these will be investigated as well. End quote. So, you know, they had this, they looked at the historical data. They saw this high grade hit that Teck had drilled back in 2007, and it was never followed up. And they also found a geophysical anomaly in close proximity. So they drilled that, and boom, they hit these thick intersections of high grade, bonanza grades of 151 grams over 3 meters, 246 over 1.5, 1.5 of 115. So they got a nice zone there, and actually it stacks up as 2 zones. You've got good continuity in 4 holes that hit high grade to bonanza grade, and then below that you've got another zone, and it looks like there's 2 zones there. And this drilling to test that theory is very exciting, and they've got a very good exploration program here. They're drilling now, and I'm really pumped up to see those drill results. I love high grade gold and in orogenic gold systems, and that looks exactly like what Dynasty has. And now they're getting at it with the truth machine with their drilling. So stay tuned for more news from Dynasty. Next up is Goliath Resources, who announced today that they drilled visible gold and 12.47 meters of highly mineralized quartz sulfide rich breccia at Sherbet, Golden Gate feeder zone in the Golden Triangle. The drill hole 133, 1 meter nugget of visible gold was intercepted at 71.42 meters, and mineralized quartz sulfide rich breccia interpreted to be a splay from the Bonanza Shear within the Sherbet Golden Gate feeder zone. You know, to get visible gold in the quartz breccia is very exciting, because that still suggests that they're on the top of the system and they're getting this visible gold. And they have a really good handle on, they've had very high success rate with hitting gold in their drilling. As you can see here in this this is the Sherbet zone that has a grade of over 6 grams and over 6 meters of drilling. So it's suggestive of a very big system that's also associated with faulting that goes down in here, and another important fault that goes here. What's really exciting about when they talk about the feeder zone is that there's a series of stacked sheets of gold mineralization above the Sherbet zone, and they're all coming down towards where these faults meet, and they are getting signs that they're getting into the feeder zone, and that's very exciting. They talked about this 133 highly mineralized quartz sulfide rich breccia containing galena sphalerite pyrrhotite from 27.4 meters to 39.87 meters. A second quartz rich breccia interval was intercepted between 70.73 and 71.9, hosted by altered intermediate volcanic rocks which contain pyrrhotite, galena, sphalerite, and pyrite. Within this interval, a 1 millimeter nugget of visible gold was identified at 71.42 meters. So you see they're getting into some nice quartz and some sulfides, and the juices are definitely flowing, as we say in the business. This is their fourth hole of the 2023 season. Within the Sherbet Golden Gate feeder zone to intercept visible gold inclusive of significant widths of highly mineralized quartz sulfide rich breccia. So again, here you can see the fault that is the northeast fault, and you've got two more that are coming down this way, and they all seem to be crossing paths down around here. On the other, most of their mineralization has been over here, but they're also getting visible gold on the other side of that fault. So this is suggestive of a big and powerful, long-lived mineralizing system with a big feeder heat engine that caused all this mineralization that seems to be following along these faults and into these zones. They talk about this is the sixth hole containing visible gold from within the Sherbet Golden Gate feeder that include, and then they give you the holes that they have drilled, and those assays are pending. But I'm very optimistic they will release good results, because as you can see from their 2022 visible gold hole assays, that once they saw visible gold, they got 24.8 grams per ton of gold over 11 meters. Another visible gold hit 21.3. So that is a very good indicator, not just that the visible gold results in good numbers, but it also tells you that the geological team has a very good understanding of the gold mineralizing system. They give you more details about the drilling and what it all potentially could mean. Really glad to have Goliath as a sponsor. I've had some good chats with their management, including their geological guys. And you can find that on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or also on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. And the bottom line is, I think that Goliath has the most important new discovery in the Golden Triangle, and that's saying a lot, because this is a very prolific region, and they're just hitting a lot of exceptional stuff with their drilling. So take a look at Goliath Resources. All righty, we don't want to go to Google next. We want to go to I80 Gold, and they provided a comprehensive operations update. Steady progress made at all sites to advance development and growth plans. Here's the highlights. Granite Creek, the company is advancing underground development, surface and underground drilling, increasing the mining rates, and progressing updated resource work for economic studies. At McCoy Cove, I just had an interview with Ewan Downey a couple of days ago, and we talked about the best drill results they've ever hit at McCoy Cove. And here they talk about the phase 1 underground development program is nearing completion, and the underground drill program is realizing substantial success. That's an understatement, because they're getting very thick intersections of very high grade gold at McCoy Cove, and it already starts out at over 1 million ounces with over a 10-gram grade in the resource. And now they're drilling tighter and getting better results, and I think that's going to lead to, showing that this project has 2 to 5 million ounce potential in it. Ruby Hill gold is being produced from the residual leaching program, while drilling continues to define and expand mineralization in multiple zones. A preliminary economic assessment is near completion with metallurgical work, and associated permitting is being advanced for underground development and processing planning. The company also received approval to drill test the Hilltop corridor. That's very exciting, because they found a bonanza CRD at the Hilltop project with high grades of silver, lead, and zinc. as well as an overprint of high grade to bonanza grade gold. And that corridor they're talking about is a structural corridor that continues on to the FAD project, which they just recently acquired by taking over Paycore Minerals. So now they've got the ability to go in there and drill aggressively. And I think they've got a phenomenal CRD system that is, there's about 3,000 meters between the hilltop discoveries, Bonanza CRD, and the FAD Bonanza CRD. So it's wide open, and now they've got the permits to go ahead and drill there aggressively. At Lone Tree, they said that gold production continues from the residual leach program, and detailed engineering has been completed for the restart of the autoclave facility. Ewan Downey stated, and I quote, "We have realized numerous successes in the first half of 2023 and what is expected to be a catalyst-rich year with exploration, development, and mining underway at our 3 primary projects. And as a company, and where possible, we intend to implement proof of concept mining to ensure that proper mining methods are employed and continuity of mineralization is established prior to full mine development. By completing more detailed initial work, we aim to have a more fluid transition from explorer to miner that often seen in new startups," end quote. So they're going at this in a very sound fashion. They're drilling a lot with exploration. They're doing test mining to make sure that they're doing everything correctly so that they don't have any negative surprises. And then they're moving everything into full mine development. And here they give you more details about the various different projects at Granite Creek, at McCoy Cove, and look at those grades, just very exceptional grades. Ruby Hill property, all the work that they're doing to expand on Ruby Hill. Look at the grades that they're hitting in those CRDs, just exceptional stuff in there, even up to 60 grams of gold, 908 grams of silver, 15.7% lead, 1.1% zinc over 10 meters. You also get high-grade zinc, 10.5% zinc with 28.9% lead, 9.7 zinc with 10% lead, 33% zinc with 7.4% zinc, or sorry, 33% lead with 7.4% zinc, and they're over very thick intersections. This is exceptional stuff that they have at Ruby Hill. And then they're talking about the Lone Tree property and the facility to process sulfide material at Lone Tree. So this company has a great future ahead of it. I think that they are the kind of company that one can consider having the potential as a cornerstone asset in your portfolio that you can hold for many years and watch it grow into a much bigger company. So check out I80 Gold. They are a sponsor, and I do a lot of interviews with Ewan Downey. He's very gracious to come on, and whenever they have important news out, to give our audience a good understanding of that. And you can find all of those on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, or on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. We just had an interview a couple days ago, so you want to tune in for that. McEwen Mining is a pick a mine. They're not a sponsor. They had significant intercept of 398 meters of 0.75% copper. Included in that was 124 meters of 1.43% copper. This is from McEwen Copper's Los Azules. McEwen Mining owns about 52% of McEwen Copper. There are other shareholders in there, include Stellantis, which owns about 14%. Rio Tinto's uh, um, processing technology arm called Newton owns about 14%, and Rob McEwen himself owns about 14%. And then they give you a bunch more details about the results. As you can see, very good numbers. These are the kind of numbers in a porphyry that makes for a mine, and a very big mine. It's one of the largest undeveloped copper projects in the world, and I think it's going to be a future mine that probably will be owned or by a much larger company that takes this over, or creates a joint venture that keeps McEwen Copper as part of the team. But as you can see here, nice distribution inside the pit, PEA, pit constrained model, and yeah, just very nice distribution of the copper, and yeah, doesn't matter which place you look at it from on this overall map, it's all looking really good. So I'm very excited about McEwen Copper, and the only way for investors to get involved with McEwen Copper is through McEwen Mining, which owns the 52% of McEwen Copper. So take a look at that. Next up is exploits. Exploits Discovery Corp commences till sampling program at their Gazebo South project. What they're going to do here, this map down here really helps to understand what they're doing. So first of all, they've got this horseshoe gold discovery, which is in very close proximity to where Newfound Gold is finding their exceptional series of gold deposits. And this red line represents the Appleton Fault. Now, Bullseye is to the immediate north, along the Appleton Fault, and they have drilled 38 grams of gold over 2.8 meters, including 118 grams over 0.85 meters. And this is very close proximity to Newfound Gold's Everest, which is just a couple, 200-300 meters from that horseshoe, and they at Everest they found very similar grades and thicknesses as what Exploits is finding just across the claim boundary. And then you can't really see it here, but there's a eastern portion of their claims that Newfound Gold has found some interesting hits not very far from that claim boundary, and there's holes pending from drilling there. But the news today was further along the Appleton Fault, up in here in these yellow claims, and these dots are where they're going to be doing the surface sampling. So this tells you a few things. They think that there's potential to find gold mineralization on both sides of the Appleton Fault. And down here at Newfound Gold, they're also starting to drill targets and finding most of their discoveries have been on the east side, but now they're looking on the west side as well. So Exploits is going to go in there and do a series. And so some things that stand out is you've got the Appleton Fault going right through where they're going to be doing the surface sampling. But I would also point out that these other hatched lines here, our dashed lines, are where there is secondary faulting. And in these orogenic gold systems, the secondary faulting can be just as important as the big fault. And because what happens is the big fault is your big crack in the earth that goes down very, very deep, thousands of meters deep. And then and that's the conduit that the gold mineralization uses to make its way up to surface. As it gets closer to surface, then you get the secondary faulting. Sometimes it will cross and sometimes it will go parallel. And that's oftentimes the final path that the gold mineralization from much deeper follows. And so secondary faulting is very important as well. Here you've got an area where you've got a fault going parallel to the Appleton fault, and you've got another one, and they actually come together right here. So it'll be really interesting to see the sampling results from the west side of the Appleton fault, on the east side, and the stuff that's in close proximity to the secondary faulting. So, you know, this is early stages on the Gazebo project, but the company is following the path to success that other companies, including themselves, have done to find high-grade orogenic gold systems. So Jeff Swinoga, who's the president and CEO of the company, commented, and I quote, "We are very excited about our Gazebo South property, which covers an estimated 10 kilometers of the Appleton Fault. The results of the till sampling program, together with prospecting, mapping, LiDAR, and magnetic surveys, will help assist our geologists to identify, validate, and advance potential gold targets along the northern Appleton Fault Zone. Our field exploration program this year is designed to generate and advance new gold targets along the northern prospective fault lines, leading to a drilling decision later this year." I think that drilling decision could happen quickly after they get the assay results back from their surface sampling. Not too long ago, a few days ago, I did an interview with Ken Tiley, who's their head geologist, and we had a very interesting discussion because Ken explained to us and showed us the kind of things that they found at the surface at the bullseye target, and now they're going to follow that same work and do similar work to try to identify targets at the Gazebo. They also have assay results pending from the bullseye project. So this company is has very good news flow, and I think that will continue. They've got a great team and doing really good work. So take a look at exploits. Alrighty, the final company I'm going to talk about today is Arizona Silver Exploration. They were a former sponsor of my reports. They are not any longer, but they are a pick of mine because I'm very excited about this Philadelphia project in Arizona. They announced that metallic screen assays significantly increased gold grades of high-grade drill intercepts at the Philadelphia project. Highest grade sample increases from 51 to 72.5 grams per ton of gold. So just to put that into context, when you do fire assaying, they crush the rock down and then they take a small sample and they assay it. Now, this is very good at representing the grade in a fine-grained and disseminated gold system. It's not so accurate when you have these high-grade or nuggety type gold systems. And so you use metallic screening, which is much more representative. They crush the rock down, and then instead of taking a small amount of it, they take all of it and they put it through metallic screens, which screen out your heavies, and then you can get an idea of a much better idea of the high grade coarse gold. And when they did that, the sample increased from 51 to 72.5 grams per ton gold. They also did this on other samples, and the average improvement was 25.9%. So it tells you that they have coarse gold, and that fire or metallic screening is much more representative of that kind of system. Greg Hahn, who is the VP of Exploration, commented, and I quote, Reassaying of samples with coarse gold is a normal industry practice to gauge if grades are being underestimated simply because a standard 30-gram sample for fire assay can miss coarse gold that might not be represented in a 30-gram split. Reassaying of 24 samples is considered statistically meaningful as we assayed both higher and lower grade material. For all 24 samples, the average grade increased by 25.9%. Going forward, we will routinely reassay high-grade intervals and use the metallic screen technique also on duplicate samples to resolve potential assay discrepancies when our geologist identifies coarse gold in his logging. In due course, when Philadelphia advances into the evaluation phase, much more reassaying will be done. In the meantime, I'm delighted that our project continues to have positive outcomes as we continue drilling off this deposit, end quote. And then they give you more details about the difference between fire assaying and metallic screening. I believe that they will do a lot more metallic screening in the future. And what really excites me the most about this is that this is an epithermal vein system, and they're drilling into quartz breccia. So this is where the breccia is your country rock that gets broken up into a bunch of pieces, and then quartz can fill up some of those gaps. But in an epithermal vein system, that still indicates that you're above the boiling zone. And to get these kind of grades in diluted rock that's breccia and quartz is extremely impressive, and is and tells you about the potential as they get deeper and into the boiling zone of the epithermal vein. And you'll know that's happened when they start talking about continuous quartz. And so this is an excellent project that I'm very impressed by. And yeah, check out Arizona Silver and do your homework on them. Alrighty, so that's the show for today. As always, some of these companies are sponsors and they pay me a fee, and that enables me to do a lot of content for them, and also to be an advocate for the industry, where I follow closely the price of metals and how that's affecting this the sector. But this is not meant to affect the price of the company or the valuation. My work is completely for information purposes only. I'm trying to give you my insights based on 30 years of exploration experience, and then pulling out of the companies that I do interviews with more information that's important to my audience. And as always, it's important for you to speak with your financial advisor before making any investment decision. You have to assess whether with your financial advisor, if any of the companies I talk about on my shows are suitable for your risk profile. And really that applies to every stock investment. And of course, I'm also a big proponent of investors doing their homework to understand these companies. I mean to be a sort of start or continuation of that due diligence by doing the interviews and assessing the news releases and stuff like that, and the sector. But other places I recommend you go to the company's websites, check out their news releases, their corporate presentations. And I'd also invite you to recommend you call the companies. You'd be surprised. These companies really love to talk about their projects, and sometimes they're accessible. And that can be a bit of an indicator as well. It's a lot of times I call up or email companies, and it surprises me that they are hard to get a hold of. But fortunately, the ones that I tend to follow are the ones that get on the horn and answer their emails. So again, give them a call. On that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.